Welcome back, Alphas. On Inside Star Citizen last week, we got a glimpse of the new space station exterior reworks. I didn't pay much attention to it on the roadmap until I saw what they've been working on. Let's get visual, so hold course. When we think back to all the great sci-fi we've seen over the years, like the ones that are set in space, it's interesting how many space stations are round or circular. Now, think about those blocky shipping containers we have scattered around the Lagrange points in the Star Citizen verse. See a little disconnect there? Blam! Something cooler and more donut-shaped. New shapes for the procedural tech. Coming soon, CIG will be able to connect round saucers to square blocks. Sounds simple, yet it took work. And we should see the exterior upgrades as soon as 3.6, with the interiors, as we know it, getting overhauled to match the new exteriors, and that's planned for 3.7. It's kind of strange, though, that they couldn't align those to go live at the same time, but maybe it's all in some kind of master plan. As a foundation for future NPC behavior, while interacting with players and the environment, CIG has been working on implementing their new motion capture footage for the bartender into the game for the 3.6 patch. And I think it's just because the master plan is someone at CIG wants us to have a Gene Robertsberry space station in-game that feels like Deep Space Nine.
Hey, barkeep. Don't call me barkeep. I'm not a barkeep. I'm your host, the proprietor, a sympathetic ear to the wretched souls that pass through these portals.
And a man who will exploit any vice you may have.
I'd really like to see large stations bustling with population, both player and NPC, with exotic shopping experiences mixed in with the old staples. You know, some new mission givers on these type of stations in the future. Hey, how about outposts for local cops and UEE security stations? Those could add some cool gameplay, right? Sticking with a Star Trek-inspired design, maybe something like the Regula 1 research station in Star Trek II, Wrath of Khan. Odd, yet intriguing design. And best Star Trek movie ever. And then there was this thing that, despite my insatiable appetite for sci-fi, I couldn't make it through the first half of that pilot. The lackeys were too melodramatic, even for my taste. Like, even for a pilot, guys. I'm sorry. So maybe I should just wait for Babylon 6 to get its own show. I don't know. Maybe CIG could get inspired by today's active dreams. Like, there's this dude who wants to build the Von Braun space station in Earth's orbit and then sell large pods to countries and big multinational corporations involved in science and hospitality. The wheel can create artificial gravity. After just 1 year in space, pioneering NASA astronaut Scott Kelly, I don't know if you guys heard about this, but he had major health complications after returning to Earth from just 1 year in space. And hey, if anybody's seen The Expanse, remember that thing about wounds not draining in Zero-G? Yeah, no spoilers though. Anyway, I don't know if you feel this way too, yet I think that the devs should rotate the stations, much like they do with the rings around Olisar, just to give us the immersion of artificial gravity in space. Otherwise, I'm probably going to drink too much one night and then log in and start ranting about how surely not everything in here has a magnetic bottom. Why are these plates still sitting on my table? And where's the maid? Nobody's cleaned up my hab in weeks. Like stuff like that. Anyway, but I digress. Speaking of Port Olisar, does this mean that this is the end of Port Olisar? Dare say. Port Olisar has been my home for years, guys. Since the days after we broke free from our hangar modules and woke up for the first time. And I know, the plan has always been to remove Ollie. And I have a sneaking suspicion that the wreckage in orbit around Ariel is probably supposed to be Port Olisar in the future. But that's just me. But I don't want to lose my home. There was no crying for Cryastro. It will be sad news, everyone. But what do you think? What I find most exciting about these new space stations is the immersion. And when it wears off after a few hours of play, well, what will keep me cracking a grin is the thought that these procedural pieces may actually become part of the building blocks for things like the Endeavor. I'm excited about the Endeavor. Though, I'm sure the real reason that we're seeing this tech now is because it's needed for some part of Squadron 42. It's pretty easy to imagine visiting large space stations with docking collars in Squadron, right? Now can we just please get some orbital stations around Hurston and ArcCorp sometime soon? Please. I'd play more, to be perfectly frank, if I knew that I could log in just for a bit and not have to deal with entering or exiting atmosphere when I want to play with just a very little bit of free time. Until then, sadly, Netflix wins out for that hour before bed. Better than 15 minutes just to commute to my vehicle and then just to get out of atmosphere. It eats up my time. Orbital stations would really help quality of life. So hopefully sometime soon, maybe 3.7, they could push it up. So I'm definitely looking forward to not just the exterior reworks in 3.6, yet also that interior rework. I want to see more secondary landing zones, more places to where we can just set our spawn point and then log in. Combine these with things like server-side OCS and procedural caves. We could dig outposts into some asteroids and we've got ourselves a quite interesting verse. Once Olisar is no more, I'll need a new home. Somewhere modest, yet convenient for my travels and side hustles. So what are your thoughts on all this? Round out the comments below and let's round table it. Too far? Anyway, punny. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing and lighting up the like button, and you'll be helping the channel. When 3.6 drops, remember to delete your user profile, and be looking for me in the verse.